What's up, guys? Stas here. So the stock market futures are not looking too hot right now. The E-mini S&P 500 index down 0.72%, down 22 points. The NASDAQ futures down 65 points, roughly 0.7% in the red, with the Dow Jones futures down 180 points, down about 0.7% as well. And in this video, we're going to talk more about the markets, breaking down some technicals, and I also want to share with you guys the top stocks and ETFs I'm looking to trade this week. What are my plans heading into the month of June in 2020 in the stock market? And I also want to go over a historical event that occurred yesterday on May 30th, which was my birthday. No, I'm just kidding, guys. It was not my birthday. Well, it was my birthday, but the historical event I'm talking about was the SpaceX launch. And by the way, thanks to everybody out there that did wish me a happy birthday. It means a lot. It's much appreciated. And just figured to say thank you, guys. And let's just kick off the video. If you guys enjoy the content, as always, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and check all the free links linked down below in the description box if you want free stocks and if you want to be further connected with the Strive Smart community. So let's break down the markets very quickly. Let's take a look at what the futures are telling us. But before we do, let's take a look at SPY, the S&P 500 ETF, so we can see what ended up happening in the market last week. So you guys can see last week, the last 5 days of trading, the SPY ETF here, which again, it gauges the S&P 500, and many people use this ETF to gauge the overall markets. It went from about 298, rallied up to 306, went back down to 300, and it ended up pushing up on a nice upswing here to about $306 at the close of the market. And if we pull back a bit here, we can see that was clearly a bullish move, right? We pulled down 300, tested the old resistance as a new support, the 180 SMA support here on the hourly chart, and we held it and completely blew up, right? You know, we pushed up again to 306. So for the bulls out there, a bullish sign would be if we break $306, right? At that point, SPY could be rallying up to 310 and above, no problem, right? But with the futures pulling down now, what that's telling me is we're giving back all of those gains that occurred in the last hour of trading on Friday. So that's kind of interesting, right? Which leads me to think, okay, is the S&P 500 going to go back down and retest 3,000? I mean, it's already retesting 3,020, which we all know is a critical level of support on the S&P 500. So for this week, guys, I'm looking at 3020. And at this point, the futures are right around 3020. So if we go and test that as a support maybe tomorrow, and we break that on the S&P, that's going to be not too good for the bulls, right? Would the uptrend be broken if that happens? No, guys, no, because overall the trend is still up, but it means that in the short term, yeah, we might have some downside from 3020, maybe back down under 3,000, down to, let's say, 2970, 2980. That's where I could see the S&P pulling down to before most likely consolidating, hitting that 50 SMA on the 4-hour chart, and maybe continuing the uptrend. Another level we could go to is, 2940 to 2950. That's the lowest, in my opinion at least, that I can see it going here in the short term, unless we get some catastrophic news, like a second wave, of course, of the CV. If we get something drastic like that, we would blow under that, in my opinion. But if everything stays the same as it is now over the next week, yeah, we might pull down a bit. That would be healthy. And from there, overall, I expect the markets to continue pushing up, because we all know Jerome Powell, the Fed, they're using their tools to the fullest of their extent. They're buying all the bonds, corporate bonds, this, that. They're flooding money. So in the short term, yeah, I think the market, with all of this stimulus, it's going to go continue pushing up, right? So that's kind of what's going on here with the market. Just taking a look at a quick glance. The NASDAQ, you guys can see, it's seeing a sticking point at 9,600. I'd watch that point tomorrow and in general for this whole week on the NASDAQ about 9,600. And another thing that I'm noticing here about the futures market right now, we gapped down, but on the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ, they're all trying to fill the gap back up. So watch the intraday chart heading into the morning, into the pre-market session, because if the futures slowly start filling the gap back up to where they opened up at about, or they closed at rather, at about 95.80, that could signal a potential green day tomorrow. Just because the futures are red now, guys, it doesn't mean we're going to have a red day tomorrow. Things can flip-flop. They actually flip-flop all the time, which is why we have to track them, the futures, right, heading into the market. Kind of what's the sentiment, news catalysts, and in general, what are large caps doing heading into the morning. That would tell us a lot about where the overall market could be pushing, right, at least in the short term. So watch what the futures market does overnight and into the market open tomorrow. That's kind of what I'm doing, and every Sunday I do that to prepare myself for trading for the next week, right? And as always, I'd love to know down below in the comments, guys, what are your thoughts about the markets, stocks in general? Are you buying? Are you selling? Let me know down below in the comments. So, historical day yesterday, guys. May 30th was a historical day. SpaceX launched, and we all know the space community, it seems like the space companies, whenever there's a win from one company, it's good for the whole space industry, guys. Let's be honest, right? It's good for the whole space industry. And I'm going somewhere with this. Virgin Galactic is a stock that I'm in, right? And I believe in this one long term. And in no way are they tied in with SpaceX, but with the success of SpaceX's launch, it's going to affect Virgin Galactic, guys. I really believe it because, again, the space industry is kind of connected. When there's a win here, it's a win for all the companies at the end of the day because space, it's not such a new thing, but it's something that we haven't explored fully yet, if you guys know what I mean. So it's a win across everything, across all space companies, private, public, whatever. And to get into some details, astronauts Robin Behnken, and I hope I'm not butchering that, Robert Behnken and Douglas Hurley have successfully disembarked the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule and entered the International Space Station. SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft docked at the space station at 10:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Sunday morning after launching from Florida's Kennedy Space Station Saturday and traveling 19 hours. And I'm sure many of you guys watched that live. I for sure did. And I believe they got to orbit in 7-8 minutes? That's utterly incredible. The aircraft, or not the aircraft, what do you call it? A spaceship? It was going 1,500 miles per hour. Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that, but it was flying extremely quick up into space, and they got to orbit and again about 7-8 minutes if my memory is correct. And it's incredible, right? Because they were in orbit for the past 19 hours, and again, they just landed at the ISS, the International Space Station, and the International Space Station, guys, orbits 248 miles above Earth. That's incredible, right? And can be seen from the ground using a new interactive map called Spot the Station. The International Space Station, excuse me, guys, completes multiple orbits around Earth every day, and now you can track the Space Lab as it passes overhead. That's pretty interesting stuff there, guys. So for my reading, they're actually going to be at the space station up there 250 miles above for about 2-3 months or something like that. So they're going to be there for a little bit. And overall, such a successful launch day in history for astronauts, for flying in general, right? The last time was in 2011. There were many, failed attempts before that, many deaths, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, with innovation, with flying into space, with all the trial and error, there are going to be casualties, unfortunately, getting to that point where they build the perfect spacecraft and just getting the technology and engineering down, which by no means am I an expert, but that's how it goes, right? There's going to be trial and error. So overall, very awesome event there. And again, in general, I believe Virgin Galactic, they're looking to fly humans into space. That's their business model. It's a bit different from what SpaceX is doing. But Virgin Galactic, I think, is going to gap up on this news. I could be completely wrong, but that's just kind of my gut, right? I think Virgin Galactic's going to gap up, and that's the first stock I'm watching, honestly. First stock this week, Virgin Galactic. We can see a bullish close and a bullish week in general last week. If you guys can see, SPCE was at $14.50 last week, and it rallied up to about $18. And now the past 3 days of trading, we've been struggling between, let's say, $16.50 to about $18. So for this week, guys, I'd watch for the push above $18, and who knows, we could gap right above that pre-market. It really could happen, and I'm looking for that. And from there, I think overall this stock is going above $20, guys. That's just kind of what I'm holding out for. That's my swing. I have a swing position with the goal to exit above $20, $21. So yeah, watch for 18 the pop, watch 19, and from there could be a lot of bullish momentum. So the first stock is SPCE. Another one is CGC, Canopy Growth. They were down $4.35, down about 20% on Friday. They reported earnings, did not do so well when it comes down to earnings, but could this be an overreaction, guys? It very well could be. And one way you can make money in the stock market, at least short-term trading, is by trading overreactions, right? And by trading a potential gap fill. And by that, I mean, okay, CGC fell $24 down to about 16. That was about a 27% drop. Now, will we start to fill the gap back up to the mid-18s, 19s? Yeah, that could very well happen. Will we make the move all the way back up to 20? I'm not sure. But as a trader, the goal is to grab some of that. And we already see it's consolidating quite strongly. The whole day on Friday, it consolidated at 1680, 1690. So that's telling me, okay, this thing does not want to break below, at least for the moment. And that's a good sign, because if we see the gap up on Monday, tomorrow, that would be very bullish to the point where, okay, we can enter this thing, rally back up, mid-18s, $19, and that's kind of where I'm looking to make the move. So watch out for CGC tomorrow, guys, this whole week. It could be a very good opportunity. Another one here is Shopify. We talked about this last week. Shopify seems to be trading in this little range between $730 and about $780. So for me, guys, I'm just waiting for the break above 760, 770. From there, if we show some momentum, to the high 700s, that could be an opportunity to get back into the 800s for Shopify, right? That could happen in a day, too. We've seen the stock run up so aggressively, so quickly before, and that's kind of what I'm waiting for Shopify. Will it happen? Of course, nobody knows, but we're looking at the technical breaks again, 760, 770. That's kind of the general area I'm watching. And another one here that's been red hot on fire, we're finally getting a pull down, is Nike, ticker symbol NKE. We're seeing it topped at $100, pulled down to about 97. But like I've been saying on these videos, I'm looking to get into Nike in the 95s. And if it doesn't get there, it's okay, I'll miss it. Because for me, guys, there's not much when it comes down to upside from here to, let's say, 100, 102 bucks, not much upside, right? But when we get to the 95s, back to the hundreds, from there, yeah, that's a pretty solid move, 6-7%. That's kind of worth the trade, in my opinion. But not looking to force anything, kind of cherry picking the prices here on Nike. And yeah, 95 bucks, that's what I'm looking at. And another one here that took a bit of a pull down is Facebook from 240 down to about 220. You guys can see the past 3 days of trading, we held 220 as a pretty strong level of support, 220 to about 225 here, and here as well. So take a look for this week. What is Facebook going to do? Hold 220, push back up 225, 230. That's kind of what I'm waiting for, because ultimately I'm looking to grab Facebook and ride it back up to $240 per share. That's kind of the move that I'm waiting on. And overall on the 4-hour chart, we're right at that 50 SMA support. Been consolidating there for a couple days, so this is a very good sign overall for Facebook stock. And as we're seeing markets, yeah, they haven't been as volatile as they were back in March, but we're seeing them gap up, gap down. It's always good to have a list of ETFs you can trade that just track the markets, right? Pretty simple. They are leveraged, so I don't recommend them for beginners, but if you're more intermediate advanced, you can trade these, right? Like TQQQ, for example, and its inverse, which is SQQQ. These trade based on the NASDAQ, right? So let's say the NASDAQ goes up one day, you can play TQQQ, which goes up whenever the NASDAQ's going up, right? So let's say the NASDAQ's up 3% one day. Since TQQQ is a 3x leveraged ETF, it would be up 9%. And the same thing with SQQQ. Let's say NASDAQ's down 3%. This one's going to be down, or rather up 9%, since it goes up whenever the NASDAQ is going down. And another duo is SPXL and SPXS. These track the S&P 500. Similar to the previous duo, only difference is it tracks the S&P 500 instead of the NASDAQ. So let's say S&P is going up, SPXL is going to be going up at a 3x rate, and S&P is going down, SPXS is going to be going up at a 3x rate of whatever the S&P is going down at. So those are ones that I don't trade as much. Recently I haven't been trading these as much, but when there's volatile times, and if you want to trade the overall markets, the trend of the S&P, NASDAQ, these are great to just keep in the back pocket as a tool, right? Because at the end of the day, they're trading tools, these leveraged ETFs. They're not long-term investments. They're meant for you to go out there and grab a short-term profit in the underlying index that the ETF tracks. And mind you guys, there's ETFs of all different shapes, sizes, industry sectors. There's so many out there that you have to do your own research as always, and just dive into it. It's interesting stuff, guys. And gold here, you guys can see, is holding up about $2. Nothing crazy, but it's up 0.15% as the overall stock market futures are down. So that's a good sign. The safe haven asset here, gold, is up. Silver is also up from last time I checked it, up a bit more than gold, up 15 cents, up about 1%. So silver is continuing to rip. And for me, guys, I'm long GDX, which is an ETF, a gold miners ETF, it's honestly, it's been on a pull down from 38 bucks to 34, and this week, I'm expecting it to rally back up. At least that's what the technicals are telling me, right? We held a higher low on the 180 SMA here on the 4-hour. The past 3 days of trading, we've been seeing some escalation in the price. That's pretty good. Gold is starting to turn around. So yeah, I'm watching GDX this week. I am watching GLD, which is an ETF. It's not a gold miners ETF, but it's an ETF that tracks the price of gold. So let's say you don't have physical gold, you don't have any gold stocks, gold minor stocks. GLD could be great. It just gives you exposure to the price of gold. So if gold goes to 1800, you're going to get a similar return in GLD as to what the price of gold went up. That's kind of how it works. So I'm watching GLD there, and SLV when it comes to a silver ETF, same thing as GLD, but it tracks silver, so I'm watching this one. And USLV is actually a leveraged ETN that is a 3x leveraged ETN that goes up whenever silver is going up. So if you're bullish silver, this could be another great little tool to have in your back pocket when it comes to trading. And the last stock I want to go over here is going to be NIO. NIO is a Chinese electric vehicle company, and this is a textbook breakout pattern. Take a look. We were in a horizontal pattern from about 380 resistance, support at around 330. So we were trading in this 50-cent range. And take a look. We completely broke out. We rallied to 430. Now we're pulling down and we're retesting 380 as a support, old resistance as a support, and we're starting to make this J-hook pattern, right? That's pretty bullish in my eyes. So, at this point, I'm looking to see, okay, is NIO going to rally up to the mid-4s? And heck, maybe even the high 5s or into the 5s if it breaks the mid-4s, right? That's kind of the potential that NIO has at this point. But the only way I'm going to get into it as a trade is if it holds 380. If it breaks 380, guys, that's a deal breaker because it could very well be going back down to the low $3. As again, it would be back in the horizontal channel at that point, and looking at previous patterns, we went to 330 multiple times. So I'm watching those guys, NIO, and of course there's many other ones, tech stocks, NVIDIA, SQ, those are two other ones I'm watching. I'm watching Target heading into this week. Costco's another one where it's similar to, maybe not similar to CGC, but Costco sold off after earnings, same way CGC did. That's where I caught the move on Friday. So if we get a similar little gap up on CGC, that's kind of where we can catch that move. And same thing with CRM, right? It gapped down after earnings. Now we're looking to fill that gap back up. So those are a bunch of stocks, ETFs, guys, and kind of my plans heading into this week. If you guys found value in this video, as always, if you enjoyed it, hit that like button for me, consider subscribing to the channel, and feel free to claim 2 free stocks, link down below in the description box from Webull, valued up to $1,400. All you have to do is put in $100 into the account, and you get those 2 free stocks. And again, that's linked down below. Same thing with the Discord chat and Facebook group. Everything's linked down below. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks again for watching. As always, stay safe out there, guys. Peace out.